The Philadelphia Phillies officially have an Aaron Nola problem, and it's going to force them into a pretty difficult decision making process from a playoff perspective. The veteran simply has not had it this year, and even after an extended period of time on the injured list, has not returned to the form that was hoped or expected. Is Rob Thomson getting concerned, and what other options are on the table from the postseason perspective? I do want to highlight the pitching staff outlook as well as how you address things with Nola. So let's get right into today. And first, I want to set the scene a little bit with this tweet from John Clark, who tweets this before last night's game, saying, "Big start for Aaron Nola tonight. Tonight, trying to win the series against the best team in baseball in Milwaukee. The Phillies have won all three of Nola's starts since he came back from the injury list, but his ERA this month is 7.53 in those starts. He's showing signs that he's getting better, but this is a huge moment for him. And unfortunately, that moment went over rather quickly. 5 runs in the first inning, I believe 5 runs before he recorded an out. Now, to his credit, Nola did settle in a little bit after the fact, but if we're speaking from a postseason perspective, if you let up 5 runs in the first inning, the game is essentially over there. That just cannot happen there, and that's sort of been the Aaron Nola experience since he came back. That, yes, I want to give him credit for the way that he battles, the way that he settles in, but the bottom line is that Aaron Nola inning that we've kind of had throughout the duration of his career, it feels like it's coming at the first inning every single time now. Now, we got a little bit of a write-up, and I think this was put in a nice way that I did want to highlight. That this shout out to Joseph Camisa here, who tweets out, "I'm the biggest Aaron Nola guy around, but just a bad start from him. His stuff just dipped a bit today. His velocity was down, his release heights fell a few inches, and his pitch shapes followed suit. The positives, weak contact, decent amount of whiffs from a team that doesn't often. He settled in after that first inning. The negatives, couldn't command the 4S. KC didn't break, knuckle curve didn't break as much as it has. Velocity trended down, and it looked good during his last couple starts. It pains me, but how can you throw him in a playoff rotation right now? He has roughly about 3 to 4 starts yet. Unless his stuff ticks back up and his results are noticeable, we may not see him in the postseason. Poor location, poor stuff, no confidence, just a frustrating night against a team that he's had consistent success against." And I do think this is very well put. And that is the more pressing question about this Phillies pitching staff here, is what are we looking at from the playoff perspective? It was obviously a huge hit to this team when Zack Wheeler went down with the blood clot issue, and the writing has been on the wall and it has been made official that he will not return this season. I think there's still this faint sense of hope that people are holding out on, but the reality is it's pretty much medical impossibility, and we do got to worry about Wheeler's actual life beyond just baseball, which I do think is a huge factor in this. Again, this is not a hamstring issue or a sore shoulder here. This is like a medical issue more so than it is an injury, and he does got to address that there. We fully accept and understand that. But where does that leave this Phillies pitching staff? Now, to take a peek at this depth chart overall here, that Christopher Sanchez, thankfully, has been able to establish himself as the clear-cut guy that takes the hill on game number one of the postseason, whenever that may be. Ranger Suarez, absolutely, sign me up for him. And this was a guy I think we were talking about in the fringe category of, will he be a starter? Will he be a bullpen guy? I think it is pretty set in stone at this stage of the game that Ranger Suarez is going to be a starting pitcher from a playoff perspective. The Phillies need him to fill that role, and he is certainly comfortable in doing so. Then is where the conversation gets difficult. Now, if things break 100% correctly and the Phillies are able to chase this first round bye here, you can pretty much get by with 3 starting pitchers because of the length of time in between games, the way the schedule plays itself out, that you pretty much can lean on 3 starting pitchers. If they do not get that first round bye, you're probably going to need to go 4 deep there. Now, if we're talking about the third guy, I think it's pretty clear right now that Jesus Luzardo should be the dude. That I do not have any faith in Aaron Nola to ultimately return to form. That he has not provided a sample size of reason why that should be the case. Now, I'm more so sit on the side of things that I'm an Aaron Nola defender. That I think in the wider scale of things, he's probably not as appreciated as he should be. But we got to look at the facts of what's in front of us right now. It is not just a poor stretch of play that we've seen from Aaron Nola. He did not look like himself before he went down from the injury, then missed several months. Came back and has not looked sharp either. That is officially panic time. Now, Rob Thomson is doing his best to defend Nola, and he even brought up a little bit of comparison of one of the other playoff runs where he was not pitching well. He mentioned either 22 or 23. He wasn't sure in his head there. And he talked about Nola not pitching well down the home stretch of the season. And then he bared down and got the job done from a postseason perspective. I do think it's funny when I see people get fired up over these quotes, because what do you want Rob Thomson to say, really? Like, what can he say in those shoes? Do you want him to be like, yeah, I'm really concerned. I don't trust Aaron Nola. I don't think this guy's a good pitcher right now. He just can't say that kind of stuff. I think what the actual feeling is and what he's saying are probably very different in Rob Thomson's brain there. But to give the full ins and outs of what we've seen from Aaron Nola this season, that he's now pitched in 13 games, a .273 win-loss percentage. He's only gone 69 innings, given up 15 home runs across that stretch, 81 81 hits to the 72 strikeouts, a 6.78 ERA, and a 1.507 whip. That is just not good enough. Now, we can get into the whole contract conversation and the future concern. I don't want to really do that today, with obviously we're worried about the home stretch of the season. And it is about time to start keeping a little bit more of a cognizant outlook on the magic number. What is the playoff path? What is the seedings? The NL East looks pretty much under wraps at this point. There is another series upcoming against the Mets, which can pretty much, put the nail in the coffin to secure that. But really what we're worried about is the bye for this Phillies team. That is probably the greater concern. We can shift that to more of the short-term focus and put the contract on the back burner. But I also think it's noteworthy for two little insurance policies that sort of I think the Phillies have in the back of their mind. Now, the number one is what I think probably was plan A from the beginning this year, which just has not worked itself out, and that being Andrew Painter here. Now, Painter made a start last night as well for the Iron Pigs. He went 5.1 innings pitched, allowed 10 hits, 7 runs, 6 of them earned, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, 97 pitches, 59 of which were strikes. 12 of his 28 first pitch strikes, really not good enough there. His last 2 outings combined, that he went 11.1 innings pitched, gave up 12 earned runs across that stretch, including 19 hits and 3 home runs. His season RA at AAA sitting at 5.62. It is a huge bummer that Andrew Painter just simply has not been ready for the challenge this year. That if there's one thing clear about this Phillies team, that if he was ready, he would have got the opportunity. With Wheeler's injury in mind, with Aaron Nola not looking like himself, with sort of the rotating cast, this 6-man rotation that has been an established plan, I'm very confident that Andrew Painter would have gotten a chance, but he has not looked the part in the minor leagues. And if you're not looking the part against AAA hitters, what do you think is going to happen at the major league level? Now, I won't lie, a part of me would have just thrown him to the fire anyway, see what you got, maybe this wakes it up. But I also think they're being a little bit cognizant of, this dude really hasn't played baseball in 2 seasons to this point. Went through Tommy John, is still sort of finding his stride here. There's a real chance that he's just like worn down and fatigued at this stage in the season. This is more innings that he's pitched in the entirety of his minor league career. And again, he basically did not pitch for 2 full seasons as they waited out the arm issue to try and avoid Tommy John, ultimately still need to get the surgery. And then he kind of had to go through that whole long-term process. So it's not like this guy has just been in a routine for the past 20 years, that he sort of has had this disruption over these past couple seasons that makes it difficult there. Now, the other part of the insurance policy that I think is more likely to play itself out for this Phillies team is the guy that they signed just this week, and that is Walker Buehler. So we got this news on August 31st that the Phillies have signed free agent right-handed pitcher Walker Buehler to a minor league contract and assigned him to AAA Lehigh Valley. It is very notable that was on August 31st, as that was the deadline for players to be eligible for the postseason perspective. Now, I think in an ideal world, the Phillies probably viewed this as bullpen security, that Buehler is a guy who has pitched in both roles and pitched in both in high-leverage postseason opportunities. He's recorded the final out of a World Series victory with the Dodgers, that he's been a very integral part of a championship-winning team here. If Walker Buehler has anything left in the tank, he can absolutely help this Phillies team. Now, he was not good this year. We have to acknowledge that up front, that with the Red Sox, he just did not look the part, and there's a reason that he was available with that. But I am a believer in a change of scenery can change things, and I do think he never really found his footing this year. If Walker Buehler looks like he has something left in the tank, the Phillies better use up whatever gas that there is in there. I do think plan A will be for him to come out of the bullpen, but if Aaron Nola still is looking rocky, it would not shock me whatsoever if they at least give him a chance. They are going to give Buehler a chance to start during these final couple games of the regular season here. He probably will get about 3 starts under his belt to have a peek at what that looks like, and I do think that we'll see what he looks like on the mound, but those are going to be starts that we should certainly keep an eye on and could have some ramifications based on what the results are. I don't think he's Noah Syndergaard. I don't think he's that level of washed, but I don't have the highest expectations of what he still can bring to the table. I hope I'm dead wrong on that. I hope he steps in here from day one and looks like he can be in the conversation for the best pitcher on this Phillies pitching staff, because Walker Buehler at his peak was that. We'll see if he still has it and how it all plays itself together. But if I'm Aaron Nola, that's probably a guy that I would be keeping an eye on from my spot perspective. For now, hopefully all these guys settle in. That Aaron Nola makes a case in his last couple starts that he should be trusted in a postseason setting. That Walker Buehler pitches up to the standard, above expectations for what the Phillies could hope for. But there's going to be some difficult decisions for what the actual playoff rotation will look like. I do think it is time to have some legitimate concern about Aaron Nola. I do think that these will be some high-pressure starts to finish off the season for him. So we'll see how things shake out from there. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you with me that as of this very moment, I think there's no world in which Aaron Nola can be a part of your playoff rotation. I do think you have to lean on Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez, Jesus Luzardo, and maybe Walker Buehler as your number 4. If that is the case there, we'll see ultimately how things play itself out. I do think they are important starts during the final stage of the season for both Buehler and Nola there, but we'll see what happens, and appreciate you guys for tuning in as always. If you have not already, make sure you're smashing that subscribe button to the channel here. We are almost to the full playoff season. We got plenty more content coming, so make sure you're tapping along. The best way to do that is by hitting the subscribe button, dropping a like on this video here, giving your thoughts below. I'll be back next time right here on Phillies Digest. Peace.